What we have here is a little Intel Nuc motherboard. I got this off of eBay. It came with two 4 gig SODIMMs, so it's got 8 gig of RAM with it, and it was only $72 including shipping and handling. And I just thought I'd go over some of the things on the main board. It has a custom solutions header, the battery, a little cooling fan, and the heat sink, which on the end looks a lot like a radiator. Then it has little tiny LEDs soldered on here, a hard drive indicator, a power indicator, and a standby indicator, and this little power switch for onboard kicking it on and off. Okay, now the somewhat more interesting side of the Nuc. We have the power connector, which is just standard little round power blick style connector. This is a missing component. As I said, I got this one used. That is for an internal power connector. Somebody desoldered it. This is a DisplayPort connector, a mini HDMI connector, RJ45, and it's 10, 100, and 1000. This is two USB 3.0 connectors. And then we have two PCI Express, a full mini and a half mini card connector with their little screw mounts. Of course, there are slots for memory, 2 of those. And these machines work best if you put 2 in for bank interleaving. Performance is noticeably degraded if you don't. We got a little header right here, and that's a USB 2.0 header. You can hook that up to a front panel. I guess it's good for keyboard and mice. Then we have a front panel connector. This has the usual connections for a power button, a reset button, a power LED, and hard drive indicator. This is a 3.0 USB connector, and this is a missing 3.0 USB connector. It's been desoldered. Again, not a clue why. This is a 6 gigabit per second SATA connector, a little power connector for your SATA. You do need a jumper that goes between this two, of course. And then missing here, which is the only one that I kind of wish was there, is the jack that is for microphone and left and right audio. So I may be soldering one back in here before I'm done. This is the BIOS connection, setup configuration jumper. And this is a little IR port. And here's the board with its two 4 gig SIMs installed. We have here a couple of laptop hard drives. The only problem is they're both slow. They work perfectly, but they need to go on eBay. Then we have this. Obviously a functional flaw. Doesn't that look nicer? A solid state drive that can take advantage of the 6 gigabit per second transfer rate. These things need to come with zippers. Or I guess I could have used a knife. Oop, and some more paper. Boom! Now that's the proper drive to go in when you want to play with a little tiny board that you got off of eBay. Something nice and solid state. So let's start rigging things up. We will hook us up a video connector. You might at some point want a little internet. Need to hook up our hard drive with something. So I don't have the right adapter for the power, but I think this will do the job. Just looks funny. We could have a mouse. And now, maybe a mouse. Yeah, I got lucky and actually plugged that in the right way. Perhaps a keyboard. We probably could use some software to get it to boot. Oops. And of course, the star of our show, the solid state drive. Whoa, wait a minute. I guess the motherboard was supposed to be the star of our show. And we will just, oops. If I'm out of frame, I'm sorry. And it's all clicked up. Now what are we missing? 12 volt power brick. And although this is the more interesting side of the motherboard, there is one drawback. You can't see the little LEDs flash, and you know how much we like to see the LEDs flash. Sorry if we get a little flickering out of the monitor. On this particular motherboard, on startup, you hit F2 to get into the BIOS. I have taken the liberty of updating the BIOS to the newest one. This is an older motherboard and no longer under support from Intel, but you can go to their site and still download all the software and things you may need to play with it. And there we can see we have our full 8 gigabytes of RAM. The processor goes to 2.6 gigahertz. Under boot, we have our USB, which we definitely want to make sure is on top, although our SATA has nothing on it at the moment. Solid state drive, the SanDisk is completely empty. Oh, I guess at this point I should add the thing that nobody paid me to do this video. This isn't an endorsement, and it's not being endorsed, and I'm just telling you what I think of this. It's just a vlog. Let me see, we've got some USB ports in the device. You can adjust all these cooling settings, which is pretty neat. You get in here, you can adjust the points you want the fan to change. As you can see, I have it set kind of low, so if it gets a little noisy on the fan, this has unknown mileage on it, so while I'm playing with it, I'm just being a little careful. You can diddle with some of the clock speed settings if you want to overclock it. If you feel this little device needs overclocking, you probably should be buying something else. These little Nucs look to me to be an excellent choice for office computers, but if you really want something for games, you want to upgrade your Nuc. They make some really nice game ones with i7s in them. The usual settings everywhere else. And now let's make this thing go ahead and hit F10 and let it go its reboot. And there we are. And that puppy's empty, so that's good. The other fan noise you're hearing is the big air conditioner. This is Florida. That is also why you've seen me take pretty much no static precautions. I could rub a cat on a balloon today and it wouldn't stick to my curtains. One of the few advantages to hot and sticky in Florida is that it's also hot and no static to speak of. Still, I wouldn't recommend anybody else do this unless you too have a $70 motherboard that you're playing with and don't really care if you toast it. Okay, let's see how we do on boot time. Pretty good. I've got Cinnabons up here. I do have the fan set to run higher before it even gets hot. It would normally not be this noisy. Of course, normally it'd be in a box too. Plus the air conditioning in here isn't helping with all its added noise. Okay, let's take a little edit here. Well, we got a 223, not exactly lightning fast, but not really too shabby. Now let's see what it can do for the video. Obviously this motherboard is not the gamer edition you can get from Intel, but I could really see using these in small offices. And even in some larger offices, I've got plenty of places where, you know, we should build these in the bottom of humidors for the boss or something. A cute little wooden box set in the corner, and he could check his email, do his usual lookup on the internet. Plenty fast for that kind of thing. And the newer ones are much better. I really could see selling some of the newer ones with the i5s in them because, you know, those are, if I remember right, full quad core with hyper threading. So all in all, $72 motherboard. Oh, and this is a $10 monitor from a thrift shop. I buy a lot of this kind of stuff for my work things to throw on a workbench or to just play with, because if they burn up, you're not as upset as what other equipment would be. So we ended up with 24 frames per second. All in all, nice little computer. Only thing that cost money on this was the SanDisk solid state drive. The rest of these are just bits and pieces put together. So there's my little quick Nuc review.